Welcome to a game between Trinidad here in blue with a engineer commander and a spider factory. And he's going against GangstaGoo with a cloakbot factory and also an engineering commander. So GangstaGoo requested this replay and he wanted to know, he thought he did bad with expanding and he wants some advice as well as about unit composition. You're idling your factory a bit there, a few seconds, that's not too bad. Let's see here. This map is Ravaged Remake. It's a quite economical map, you have quite a lot of safe expansion here. This expansion is pretty safe, this is kinda safe, so yeah, you got some expansion that you can grab pretty easily. And your build order is make 4 mexes and then wind generators. That's pretty good, wind generators are good on this map. You're also making a conjurer here. You're making a lotus here, which on the impassable terrain here. So enemy units can't pass here. But since you're facing spiders, they can pass there. So it's a pretty good defense if you're expecting spiders. Like putting a lotus turret there, if you're expecting spiders, is a pretty good defense. Against other factors, not so much. You haven't scouted enemy yet, so even if you're facing a spider factory, I probably wouldn't recommend making it blindly, because if they make a bot factory or a vehicle factory, it's kind of unnecessary. But yeah, you can easily scout the enemy with a few blades, and once you know the spiders, yeah, go ahead and make a few lotus turrets. So that's a small optimization. Because glaives are pretty good against spiders, they can easily defeat fleas and such. So they're pretty good against spiders. So yeah, now you have a lot of energy and you're going here and making winds. You're making a lot of winds. That seems a bit too much wind. Yeah, at least load turret is gonna help her now. So yeah, it was useful. It will be useful after all. But you're also making Ronins this early. Ronins aren't that great. Yeah, your enemy is trying to harass you quite a bit. And they run into your commander. That's good for you. That venom didn't make cost. Meanwhile, this other venom is preventing your expansion here a bit. It's a thing, Ronin, I mean, if you have the micro, you can beat venoms. One venom will like 3-4 glaives if you spread them out, but it requires that you spread them out and you have some confidence doing so. Because if you clump them up, then yeah, you're gonna take a lot of damage and you might just lose them like that. So it's a bit of micro. You should use line draw commands to make them avoid clumping up when you're trying to chase down a venom. And you also have the option to like retreat if you get stunned. With one of your glaives gets stunned and you have a bad angle, you can still retreat. So yeah, it's a micro thing you can do. So yeah, you can depend mostly on glaives for the early games against low numbers of venom. But once there's a lot more venoms, yeah, you need something else. And then Ronins are pretty good. Reaver's decent, Knights is good, yeah. So Ronins this early feels a bit slow, and you also lose the opportunity to harass the enemy. Let's see here how the Ronin does against you. Yeah, it struggles to hit the venom that's moving. So you go back to expanding here, that's good, yeah. Yeah, in this situation, if the enemy is trying to dive your base, having like 5 glaives could easily surround the venom and try to kill it. So I think glaives would be better for you in this situation if you just can spread them out and avoid them clumping up too much against the venoms. Yeah. Meanwhile, you're trying to raid with Ronins, which yeah seems to be working out for you. Like Ronins could alone would technically be beaten by fleas, so fleas would beat these few Ronins quite easily. But enemy isn't making fleas, so yeah, that's not a problem right now. Ronin is a pretty good unit against spiders if you have some support with glaives or like reavers or knights with them. So yeah, there's nothing wrong in making Ronins. Yeah, here comes one glaive. Will it be able to finish it? It gets stunned, and it's just about to finish it. So yeah. If the Venom is occupied with other units, yeah, you won't really struggle. Yeah, the Venom will struggle to deal with the glaives if it's occupied by something else. So defending yourself with a few Lotus Turrets and glaives is usually advised against Venoms, and then you can add in Ronins later to push against the enemy. But yeah, the enemy is slowing down your expansion here, and you're making some pickets up here. I mean, yeah, the pickets are fine, but I think a Lotus Turret would be better in this situation because a picket goes down pretty quickly. So yeah, just a Lotus Turret here on the edges here would probably be better for you. Also, I'd probably recommend you expanding with your commander. I can see that you don't feel quite confident against Trinidad's raiding here. He's raiding you pretty well. But yeah, having glaives at home or reavers at home, or like 1 or 2 Lotus Turrets here would keep you pretty safe here, instead of having to keep your commander here. Yeah. So yeah, I can see you're being pressured, and that slows down your expansion quite a bit. So yeah, what should you do against spider players? Yeah, you should like try to harass with glaives and keep them alive if you can. It takes quite a bit of micro to keep them alive, so it requires a bit of attention. So Ronins are a fine alternative. It requires a bit of less attention. Expanding with Lotus Turrets is also good. So yeah, but yeah, now once there's a lot of Venoms, yeah, glaives are gonna struggle against that. But a Knight is pretty good against Venoms, so if you can just get in range, it will deal with the Venoms quite handily. So yeah. So yeah, now your commander should be in position to deal with this. So yeah, it has some benefit to keep the commander at home, but still, your commander could have been here, expanding instead. You could have a Lotus Turret like here, and would protect you better. And your commander would be protecting these mexes and preventing the enemy from just running into your baits. And having like 2-3 Lotus here against spiders, that's pretty good. That keeps you pretty safe. So yeah, being able to feel more confident by building some Lotus Turrets here and expanding with some Lotus Turrets would be good for you, I think. Because now your expansion is really slow, and you haven't even secured this easy expansion that should be your first like expansion. Meanwhile, the enemy is not that much faster. They're being really safe, making a lot of defense, even though you barely raided them. Yeah. Like as a spider player, they don't really have to worry about this area as much, but yeah, you can protect these with Lotus Turrets. But yeah, and they're also expanding here. So yeah, Lone Reaver, if you're not paying attention, can easily get overrun by Venoms, but you still kill a Venom there. Like a Venom is almost the same cost as a Reaver, so yeah, that's not even a bad trade. But that's the thing, against Venoms you have to be careful with your micro. Like if you're not paying attention, you can easily lose your unit's P-spin here. Like this armor that you had here should have easily been able to beat those Venoms. Like you had a Reaver there and supportive glaives that should have easily beaten these Venoms, but you were not paying attention. So Venoms, if they're able to like go around your units and kill units, stun them one by one and then kill them, yeah, they can be pretty hard to deal with. So it's a matter of how much attention you can pay and how much micro you can devote to keeping your units in a good formation and preventing the enemies, the Venoms, from stunning them one by one. Because for cost, if the Venoms are engaging into like Reavers and Glaives without being able to stun them in groups, yeah, they won't do well. They will die pretty quickly. So yeah, it's a micro battle really. Yeah. I'm not sure why you choose Picket in front of Lotus Turrets. Like, they're the same price, but Lotus Turrets are harder to stun, they deal more damage. Yeah, in this situation I would just go for Lotus Turrets instead. Yeah, and your commander is idle here, and you're struggling to expand here. Like, the enemy's hiding a Venom there, but that's not much of a threat. I guess since at this level you're like struggling a bit to keep track of what's happening on maps, so yeah, building a few extra turrets to keep your base safe in a situation like this is fine. But yeah, now the enemy is starting to get ahead a lot, quite a lot in eco. But yeah, now you have a composition that's pretty hard for the enemy to deal with. Like the counter is Recluse, and the enemy is starting to make Recluse. But the enemy only has 3 Recluse out, and they will struggle to deal with these units in time. Knights has a lot of HP, Reavers has decent enough of HP, and they also regenerate health after a few seconds. After just 5 seconds, they start to regenerate 20 HP per second. So yeah, Recluses will like counter Cloaky Boss fairly well, but in the later part of the game they will struggle to... Oh, your glaive was moving the wrong way there, so you lost a Conjurer. Yeah, the enemy goes in with some late trading, and they're still preventing you from expanding here. Yeah, and you can see here how easily that Venom dealt with that Lotus turret and killed it quickly before your glaive could react, but it's almost dead now. Imagine that that had been a Lotus turret. That glaive and that Lotus turret will most likely have kept you safe there. Now your Reaver is gonna have to struggle to keep up with it. Yeah. And you're still struggling to expand, like you still haven't been able to expand here, and you could easily be expanding here. And here are some lone Recluses. Your glaive should be able to deal with those easily. There goes one glaive. Recluses are pretty expensive. Like, what's the price? 280? That's the price of like, yeah, 4 glaives basically. Yeah, more than 4. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, Trinidad is doing a pretty good job at attacking you from all fronts and trying to keep you occupied. Like he's raiding with fleas, and he's going from different angles. If we look here at metal produce, he's way ahead of you. You were ahead a bit before, but then yeah, he got ahead because you never managed to expand here properly. So yeah, now you're starting to get into problem because this is a decent number of Recluse. It's like 9 Recluse. So yeah, you're gonna struggle to actually deal with Recluse once they get amassed. And you have to like, yeah, it's a thing where you have to like choose, do I commit to my Ronins and Knights and Reavers and try to push now, or do I have to switch to something better? But yeah, at this point, yeah, you're really far behind, and this army, like, yeah, there's still opportunity to raid here, like there's no defense at this point right now. But your army will struggle to deal with the Recluse. So this is a rather, like, if you look at the cost of this army, this is a rather expensive army that's concentrated here, not doing anything right now. But the enemy also has quite an expensive army and a bigger army than you have. I'd say, well, not quite there, but yeah. So yeah, you managed to get some ring in, that's nice, but yeah, you're finally managing to getting this expansion. But yeah, the enemy has now 3 expansions and you have 1. Or like, the enemy has 2 expansions and you have 1, so yeah, quite far behind. So yeah, at this point it's hard to do something with your army because the Recluses will kite it and kill it. Like if you see, you have alternatives when you're facing Recluses. Either you can go for sharpshooters and try to kill the enemy. Like, spider units except fleas are kind of expensive, like hermits are one-shotted. No, they're not quite one-shotted, I think. They're not quite one-shotted. But yeah, redbacks, recluse, venoms, they're all one-shotted and they cost 280, 240, 190, so they're quite expensive. So if the enemy isn't using a free screen, you could try to use phantoms to kill them. But making phantoms will also slow down your push, so it might not be advisable. Here you have 2 knights just getting beat down by these Lotus turrets and units. So a better alternative against is probably just to go for phoenixes. If you build an airplane plant, you can build the phoenix flame bombers and go for that. So if you're not able to get an advantage with your cloaky bots against spiders, like you have the early game advantage in pushing power as you get like Ronins and Knights and Warriors. Like the spider player is gonna struggle to stop that, and you can probably get map advantage with that if you're playing well. And then if the enemy goes into Recluse, you can go into Phoenixes, the napalm bombers, to kill the Recluse once they're bunched up. So, but yeah, at this point, you're pretty much lost. You're sending a few units to try to do some damage. But yeah, it's hard to deal with Hermits and Redbacks, just, yeah, at this point. If you look at total value here, you're already really far behind. So yeah, let's see. The enemy is making gunship now as a switch, which can be a pretty good switch. Yeah. So about your composition, I'm not really gonna complain about your composition. I mean, early game, Ronins are pretty good at pushing, and Glaives are pretty annoying for spiders to deal with. It's about microing Venoms versus Glaives, basically. So yeah, early game you can push with Ronins, Reavers, and Glaives, and maybe Knights as well. So, and maybe Slings, and then you could possibly make Phantoms to kill the rather expensive shield, the rather expensive, what do you call them, units in the Spider Factory. And then, or alternative, instead of Phantoms, you could just go for Phoenix and try to bomb them. Bomb the Recluses, especially Recluses, they're juicy targets. They're expensive and don't have much HP, so they're really juicy. So yeah, so instead of Phantoms you could go for Napalm Bombers. Yeah, I'm gonna speed up the few last minutes. Yeah, and at the end of the game, you only managed to get one expansion. While enemy had 1, 2, 3, 4 expansions. So yeah, that's what. Yeah, the enemy managed to slow you down too much. So yeah, if you look here at the early game, you were ahead a bit in metal and metal use there. But then the enemy got ahead. If you look here at value killed, the enemy did get some decent raiding in, and that was kind of stopped you dead in your tracks. You were unable to expand here properly, and yeah, the few Venoms that went up here managed to distract you quite a bit. And your raids, I mean, they didn't do much. The enemy defended with Lotus turrets, so it was hard to kind of raid against this. And the enemy expanded pretty slowly still. This play didn't expand fast or anything. They like only had like these two positions for most of the game, but they kept them safe with these Lotus turrets, so it would have been hard to raid at. But yeah, if you're facing spiders, yeah, making like a few Lotus turrets in the base here would be fine. Like 1, 2, 3 here, maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 in your base, and bring out your command to expand further. Like I can see you're lacking a bit of like multitasking, so If you're able to like keep track of the enemy, you can just defend against Venom with glaives pretty much. If you can spread them out and surround them so only one of the glaives gets hit and they don't bunch up and get targeted by the whole AoE, then you can basically rely on glaives in combination with Lotus Turret to defend your base. And even push out on the map and even kill lone Venoms. Later in the game you can add Ronins, which are pretty good, and you can push the enemy and try to prevent them from expanding, and you can add in some Reavers or Knights to keep to kill Venoms and Redbacks. Yeah, and then yeah, bringing out your commander to expand would be advisable, like bring it here, bring it here. Yeah, would be pretty good. Then you will secure this position pretty easily if you have your commander there to defend as well, in combination with like glaives as well, or Ronins to push. And then you can like push over here. This is a good, pretty good of expansion pattern, or you could go like this or like this. Yeah. And then late game against spiders, I would suggest you can either make phantoms or you could go for napalm bombers. Napalm bombers is pretty good against spiders, especially if they make recluse. So yeah, recluse are hard to deal with for cloaky bots. So once they get a lot of recluse, so I'd recommend napalm bombers against recluse. So yeah, good luck and have fun.